Hello everyone, welcome. Rabbi Abe here. I'm going to share with you the energy that's happening specifically, yes, this week, but of course you're not all going to be hearing this video this week, whenever this week is, but this is, the concepts that I'm going to be discussing is good all the time, okay? It's revealed this week, and it's revealed through the section as the sages divided the Torah portions into 50 some odd different sections, each portion relating to the energy of a specific week. But again, it's revealing spiritual energy that is for all of us for the entire year. So, the name of the portion, which appears in chapter 32 of Genesis, beginning on verse 4, it's called Vayishlach. And it relates to Jacob, the patriarch, who sent, it says messengers, that's how they translate it in English, but literally the word is angels. He sent angels. Angels are the force of consciousness. Just to put things into context, Jacob's brother Esau, his twin brother, incidentally, wants to kill him for stealing his birthright. We're not going into that story, but the entire story here is about Esau, who wants to kill Jacob. And Esau is going to come to Jacob with 400 men. And he's going to approach him. And the plan to kill him at that moment is somehow foiled. And the Kabbalists explain, this is our way that we can remove all forces of negativity, of which there are 400. The Kabbalists explain. Specifically, the Kabbalist Rabbi Avraham Azulai, and that goes back about 250 years, he explained in his writings, which are called Mercy to Abraham, Chesed LaAvraham, in the revelation of the secrets to the mikvah, that pool of immersion, to purify in water. He revealed the secrets there that this body of water has the power, has the capability to remove 400 levels of negativity, which is in negativity. He says there are 400 classes of negativity within negativity. That's it. There are 400. Why 400? Okay, it's another maybe longer discussion. The point is, the energy that is appearing now in the cosmos can assist us to remove these 400 levels of negativity. But, of course, they need to be activated. It just doesn't happen because nothing just happens by itself. It requires of us to do something to kind of, activate it, push the button, because we know not everything is 100% spiritual, and it's not 100% physical. We know the spiritual access that we have is through the physical work, sort of 50-50. You do the 50% in the physical world and you give it the energy that it needs, and you will be able to tap into the other 50%, which of course is the access to the spiritual world and whatever it has to offer at any given moment. So this section, if you were to read it yourself, is again basically about the battle that Jacob is planning to have with his brother, because he knows his brother is on the way to kill him. And again, his brother represents the angel of death, and the angel of death, or embodied by Esau, is coming with 400 men. Again, the Kabbalists explain, these represent all levels of negativity. Now, before this actually happens, the interesting story, and again, I think it's pretty famous story, again, in chapter 32, where the portion begins, beginning in verse 25, very significant few verses here. And this verse 25, it says, Jacob remained alone. Alone. You have to remember that word, because it's a very powerful tool to remove negativity and to access into the forces of creation within the word alone. Yes, alone. Levado in Hebrew. So, verse 25, Vivate Yaakov levado. He was left alone. Jacob was left alone. He was by himself. V'ya'avek ishimo, adalot shachar. And a man wrestled with him until dawn. A man wrestled with him until dawn. What was a man doing there in the middle of nowhere, wrestling with Jacob? Vayaki lo yacholo. And he saw he couldn't overtake him, meaning that man, that stranger, couldn't overtake Jacob. Vayiga b'kaf yerecho. But he got him, he touched him in the kaf yerecho, in the back of his thigh, which we understand is the area where the sciatic nerve is. Vateka kaf yerechako b'haveko imo. And he says he couldn't defeat him, but when he touched him there, the English isn't exactly accurate, but it says he hurt him over there. Here it says his hip became dislocated. Doesn't exactly mean that, but he affected him. He defected that area, which is the area of the sciatic nerve. And some of you, I'm sure, know where that is. And then a very strange thing happens. So he says, okay, let me go because it's almost dawn. So this stranger says, let me go. It's almost dawn. Jacob says, no, I won't let you go until you bless me. Now, I mean, can you think of a stranger story? No, probably not. I won't let you go until you bless me. Now, who was this stranger? And then we'll just continue with the last verse of the story. Who was the stranger? The Zohar says, and it's very clear, that this was the ministering angel of Esau, which is represented by the angel of death. So this angel of death, this negative angel, is wrestling with Jacob, and he's trying to overcome him, and he wasn't able to. But he was able to touch in a certain area, the area of the sciatic nerve, but apparently Jacob was overcoming him. But as the dawn was breaking, as though he couldn't exist in the light, this negative force, he said, let me go. And Jacob said, no, I won't let you go until you bless me. Now, why would you want a blessing from the angel of death, from a negative force? By the way, there's no better blessing than that. I mean, it's one thing to get a blessing from the positive forces. That's nice. But when the negative force comes to bless you, that's even more powerful. And we would need to learn a little bit of more Kabbalah in order to really understand that, the depth of that. Because the negativity has the ability to encompass all, not only of the negativity, but it becomes the vessel for total positivity. And if you can get a blessing from the one who's, imagine you're in a court and the prosecuting attorney all of a sudden defends you or says good things about you. Of course, your attorney, the defending attorney, is of course going to say good things about you. But if, let's say, even by accident, the prosecuting attorney says something good about you, well, that counts much, much more if you understand the concept here. So, until you bless me. Okay, so the angel agrees and he says, okay, what's your name? And he says, my name is Jacob. He says, no, your name is Israel because you have fought the divine and you have conquered. You fought the divine and you have conquered. And you have become a great Tsar, a great minister among men, before God and man. You have been victorious. And then it's interesting, in verse 30, Jacob returned the question. He says, and what is your name? And very interestingly, this angel says, why do you, what? He says, why do you ask my name? Why do you ask my name? And he left. He blessed Jacob and he left. He didn't answer him, right? Why do you want to know my name? All right, there's a lot going on over here. But first and foremost, number one, this is our ability to rise above nature. What was Jacob doing? Jacob was fighting with himself. Jacob's fear. Jacob had fear. He knew, at least on the physical level, that his brother was coming to kill him. He knew that. But he had fears. He was distressed. The Bible says so. He says, he's prayed and he said, I'm afraid of my brother. of Esau. What was he really afraid of? He was afraid of all of his own frailties. He was afraid of potentially being weak and not being able to stand up to the spiritual test. That's what this battle was about. This was not a physical battle that Jacob was having, but rather a spiritual battle, an emotional battle that we all fight, and that is necessary when we are to overcome a difficult challenge, any difficult situation, whether it be with a person, whether it be with a personal difficulty that we are encountering, a money problem, a personal challenge with somebody, a relationship issue, fears, uncertainty. We question. Even when we don't know, we're questioning the validity of us. Where are we? Can I handle it? I may even be saying, no, I can't handle this. Stop it. It's enough for me already. I can't handle it. Wrong. You can. You can. And this is what Jacob did. He decided in that moment, I am going to rise to the occasion because together, with the Creator's help, I can overcome. You see, it's not about God. God will help us with everything. However, we must do our part. Again, remember what I said in the beginning. It's 50-50. We need to do our half. That's the half of the bargain that we came to this world for. We didn't come here just, okay, God, go ahead, take care of my problems. Take care of everything. Give me money, give me comfort, give me luxury, give me health, give me whatever. That's not why we came. What the heck? What are we doing here? What do we come for? That someone or God can just do everything for us? It does not work that way. And you tell me if that works that way for you, okay? More power to you if that's the way things work. No. The Creator is there for us at any moment, any second, but we need to do our part of the work. We need to do the maximum effort, and then the Creator comes in and takes care of the rest of the deal. All those things that we are not maybe capable of doing. But you can't throw your hands up in the air and say, no, I can't do this, God, please, take care of it. I'm going to pray a lot. No, doesn't work that way. So he fought himself. Who was Jacob actually fighting? He was fighting his own demons, called Esau, code name Esau. We all have an Esau within. That is our demon that we must do battle with at any given moment. It's going to plague us with difficulty, with challenge, with doubts, with uncertainty, and all those things that we say, no, I can't do this. It's just too much for me. There's no such thing, by the way. If it came to you, it belongs to you, and you can handle it. Rise to the occasion. Rise. You must rise to the occasion. You don't want to? You think it's going to get better? You think it'll go away? It will not go away. It's not going away. Oh, it might go away today, but it's coming back tomorrow, next week, next month. But it is coming back. Whatever the challenge is, if I don't deal with it in the spiritual world, which is the fight, and that's why it's the fight that we need to fight first. If you're having a challenge with someone, you need to fight the battle first here. You need to overcome whatever difficulty you have. Maybe you need to find something in that person who's challenging you, something that you can really appreciate and like about them before you go into the meeting, let's say. We'll get back to that, because as Jacob is going to meet his brother, crazy things will happen which will indicate that the blessings and the overcoming of 400 levels of negativity happened, and the result was kind of astonishing. We have to fight the spiritual battle first, and that's what this is all about. It's the willingness and the determination for us to do our work from the seed level. Remember, the work is always going to be first on a spiritual level, what we'll call the 99%. Imagine the shadow on the wall. You want to change the shadow, so you're going to try to manipulate the shadow on the wall. Is that going to work for you? No. You need to manipulate the hand behind the shadow. And that's how we would understand the relationship between the spiritual world and the physical world. The physical world is the shadow of the spiritual world. Now, who are these? Now, they're going to approach each other, okay? And if you want to look it up, the beginning of this idea will begin in Genesis chapter 32, verse 7. And you can just, it's a nice story. You can read it from there and go forward. They're approaching each other, Jacob with the camp, his wives and all the children and so on and so forth, and Esau, and it says, how many men? 400 men are with him. Again, does this mean physical men? Whether it does or not, it represents 400 levels of negativity that there are. That's it. 400 levels of negativity. And look, we're not able to count the 400 levels of negativity. But when we're in a difficult spot, when we get a panic attack, or when we have anxiety, or when we have fears, or when we're in a very difficult situation, if we, God forbid, we can't pay our bills, we have, or God forbid, there's a health issue, we feel those 400 men. Yes, we do. The difficulty feels, it's a burden, which we feel it's very, very difficult to carry, to deal with, to do anything about. We feel helpless, powerless. But Jacob did the spiritual work. He was ready. He was ready. And the books, the Zohar and other texts explain that in that moment, as Esau approached Jacob, he was about to kill him. He was about, in fact, to bite him. He was going to approach him, embrace him, and bite him. Sort of like maybe that's where they got the idea of the vampire. I don't know. But he was going to kill him that way. Esau had this animalistic quality that he could kill even with his mouth. In fact, in the beginning, it says Esau was a hunter in his mouth. Torah says that, right? Tzayid bepiv. He was a hunter in his mouth. Anyway, that has many different meanings. But okay, he had the power to be able to kill with his mouth. But Jacob was prepared. And because Jacob fought first the spiritual battle, something crazy happened. As they approached one another, Esau couldn't help himself. He came under the domain of Jacob, who had overcome his nature. And as such, since he did, he went outside of nature. There's a rule that we learn in Kabbalah. When we go outside of our nature, from the desire of the self, from our own emotional state, and we rise above, which is indicated by Jacob's name change at that moment from Jacob to Israel. At that moment, when he went above destiny, he went above the zodiac. We talk about this frequently. He went above the zodiac in that moment. So while the zodiac would have determined that at that moment Esau was going to kill Jacob, he was already above because he did the work prior to meeting Esau. And as they came together, he embraced him and kissed him with all of his might. Instead of biting him, he kissed him with all of his might. And this is indicated in the Torah, and it is a word in the Torah that says, Vayishakehu. I'll put it up here. Vayishakehu, which means he kissed him. And something very, very strange. It says that here, in verse 4, in chapter 33 of Genesis, he ran to meet him, and he kissed him, Vayishakehu. Now, there is, as you see, it's very unusual if you're familiar with a Torah scroll, and if you're not, let me enlighten you. You don't see dots. There's no dots, there's no vowels, there's no punctuation of any kind on the scroll of a Torah. But here, on 10 occasions throughout the scroll, there are dots, unusual dots, which most people don't question, most people don't even notice, because most people are not looking at the scroll. Only the reader who's reading the scroll is reading it on behalf of a congregation, and the people are not looking at it. So most people, even religious Jews, are for the most part unaware, for the most part I say, unaware that there are dots on certain occasions which are very meaningful according to the Kabbalah. On this occasion, over this word Vayishakehu, he kissed, which is 6 letters, there are 6 dots. 6 dots over each letter. Very strange. 6 dots over the word Vayishakehu, he kissed him. What are these 6 dots about? What's the secret of the 6 dots? Can it benefit us? And the answer is yes, of course. This is part of the energy that exists. What do the Kabbalists explain about these 6 dots? These 6 dots is the protective shield, also known as the shield of David. Shield, not star. It's not a star. Magen David in Hebrew means a shield. A shield means protection. It's not called a Star of David. I know people like to call it a star. It looks like some kind of star, but it's a metaphysical shield of 6 points, a 6-pointed shield, which is the result of what we create, the energy that we create when we go above our nature. As we said, this is what Jacob did. He was in a state of fear, uncertainty, and he rose above this fear. He injected certainty, and he knew, look, what needs to happen will happen. I'm connected. I've done my spiritual work. And as long as I know I've done that, the Creator is with me. And as long as the Creator is with me, whatever happens, I can't lose. He was in that mindset. And by virtue of his work, he created this shield. Shield is protection. Shield is direction. Shield is well-being. It's peace. And that was Jacob's doing. So the kiss of Esau, with all of his might, was the result of Jacob's spiritual work. Now, can we do that? Yes, we can. We can. We can do this because we have the tools. We can do this if we have the desire to rise above who? Not others. We're not a victim. We're not here to be victims. If you agree to be a victim, nothing can ever change. As long as we understand the mechanism, I need to rise above me, nobody else. I need to rise above my nature. I need to make my spiritual connections. Yes, there are tools I can use at my disposal, and I'm recommending to you, but, we call it prayer, strategy, and gifts. One of the things that Jacob did was he brought gifts with him, not to bribe him, but to weaken his ego. What happens when you give somebody a gift? Think about it. You're having a problem with somebody, and the last thing you want to do is give them anything. No, you want to give them a piece of your mind. No. What would happen if you bought them a really, a touching gift? What would happen then? Immediately you soften the ego of a person because they become a receiver. You become the light. Think about that for a second. The giver represents the light. The receiver represents the vessel. You become the light. So I don't want to say it. I'm not saying it so we can manipulate. But yeah, in a good way. In a good way. There's good manipulation. There's selfish manipulation. Not just about getting what we want. Yeah, you can give gifts just to get what you want selfishly. Or you can give a gift. Of course, everybody feels good when they receive a gift, right? Because you want to help somebody, because you want to bring more peace, right? Not because you just want to do personal manipulation. You understand? But the gift is a way of helping to remove the ego from the equation, which would otherwise become a blockage. And this is why Jacob came, and he came bearing all sorts of beautiful gifts for his brother. He showed him love. He showed him mercy. Again, this is a signal to us. The energy that we put out is what we get back. The universe is like a mirror. So, you put out difficulty, you put out uncertainty, you put out hatred, God forbid. I don't want to say, but, again, the universe is a mirror. You put out love and mercy, kindness, the universe pays you back in kind. In kind. So, this wrestling match, we understand, was all about the wrestling, the fight that we have with ourselves. Okay? And another very important lesson in chapter 33, verse 12 to 17, he says, Esau says, come with us. Let's go together. Jacob says, no. No, no thanks, brother. You go your way. We're going to go our way. What's the lesson about this? Please understand. Just because we've overcome a certain thing, negativity, but when you know there's negativity somewhere, yes, we should make every effort to make peace with it, as Jacob did with his brother. But there's nothing that says that I need to go along with it and continue my path with it. The opposite. I should steer clear. When you know something is negative, and I'm not saying now I haven't done my work, and I just, I find this is negative and that one's negative and you just run away from the work that you need to do. No, that can lead to, hatred, what we call hatred for no reason. We're not talking about that. But when you've made peace, there's no reason to continue a bad situation, if you understand what I mean. Nothing says we don't need to love everybody. We shouldn't hate anybody. But that also doesn't mean that we need to love everybody. There's certain people who we have affinity with, and, other people we don't have an affinity with. And that's okay. Accept them for what they are. No hatred. That's a big no, okay? That's a disconnect completely from the Creator's light. But do I have to love them? Do I have to take them home with me? No, I don't. I do not, okay? So that's a lesson here. It's a spiritual lesson. Jacob didn't agree to go with Esau and his crowd because, listen, certain crowds you don't want to be a part of. And that's okay too. That's okay. All right. The final message here, and we have tools, by the way. We have tools that I'll recommend to you. First off, I said we'll come back to it. When it says in the beginning of the portion, and I'll give you the reference again, in, I think it was chapter 32, and it was verse 25 to 30, and it said, Jacob was left alone. He was left alone. Levado in Hebrew. The word is levado. A great secret here of the Ana B'Koach, the 42-letter name. Why? He wasn't alone physically alone. He had all the support of the angels. Why? He understood the secret power of the 42-letter name. Levado, alone, is a code word. It's a code word which is numerically, guess how much? 42. And 42 always will represent the 42-letter name, what we call the Ana B'Koach. Again, download it on RabbiAbe.com. Go to the download section, 42-letter name, Ana B'Koach. It has the power to protection, and we will soon be offering a brand new, I'm waiting for this, unbelievable course on the Ana B'Koach, on the 7 gateways, which are the 7 verses of Ana B'Koach, 7 gateways to the creative force of creation, the force of creation. That's what this name has in it, within it. That's one thing. Download that on RabbiAbe.com. Also, one of the most powerful names, if you're not already scanning the 72 names, start scanning them. Also, you find the download on RabbiAbe.com. If you haven't taken the 72 names course, highly recommended, so you'll really have a deeper understanding. But name number 8. So you'll be able to download that name you'll have a download, again, free of charge, like all the downloads, of the 72 names of God. Name number 8, which is Kaf He Taf. Kaf He Taf. And the power of Kaf He Taf is removing negative energy, diffusing negative energy from our midst. Incidentally, what the Zohar says is this name is the name that Moses used to strike the Egyptian. When he saw the Egyptian striking a Hebrew when he was growing up in Egypt in the book of Exodus, he didn't actually kill him. It's very interesting what the Zohar says. This name, he projected this name on the Egyptian. And what the name did was simply elevate all the sparks of light that were there out of negativity. Now, there's a rule. Negativity cannot exist without light, the light that we give it, okay? So we feed negativity, basically, whether it's our negativity or negativity that subject, from other people, but we empower that, okay? We got to learn some Kabbalah, but we empower negativity. This name, when Moses projected that onto the Egyptian, it simply elevated the light back to its source that didn't belong to the Egyptian. It was light that was given to him by others. He simply elevated. And since this Egyptian had no spiritual light of his own, because he didn't have, and Moses looked through his soul at that moment, the Zohar says, it's very interesting, and saw there was no future. In all of his generations, through the end of the spiritual process, this Egyptian and his lineage there was no light to be revealed over there. And so he had nothing to exist on his own. Only like the parasite that only lives and feeds off of a host. That's all the energy that he had. And since that light was removed to him, he ceased to exist. That's how he died. He ceased to exist because the light that didn't belong to him was simply elevated back to the source. So this name, number 8, Kaf He Taf, has the power to assist us in removing the negativity from our environment and so on. Final message. This energy is a powerful energy. It's an opportunity to remove negativity from us. As long as we realize that negativity never really exists meaning from our perspective. Again, from our perspective, that we blame other people for their negativity. No. People reflect us. People reflect us. And the negativity that we see in others is most often something that exists in us that we need to fix and we need to change. So Jacob had fears of Esau, but in the end he saw he had nothing to fear. He was in control. But he worked on, he removed his own personal fear. He did the work. When we do the work, we overcome it. You can't fight negativity. You can't fight darkness with darkness. The rule is the only way to fight darkness is to bring the light. It's the only way to bring the light in. We do that through inner transformation. We do that through spiritual tools. We do that through personal change and overcoming difficulty situations. In that, we rise above our nature, even we rise above our astrology. That's right. We go above nature. Remember the rule. When we go above nature, nature goes above for us. Nature goes outside of nature. We will get miracles beyond nature. There's nature and there's miraculous. Remember, we're in that month. So far, as long as we're in the month of Sagittarius, and if you're seeing it afterwards, okay, no problem. But the same rule applies. Only Sagittarius, it's more supportive, that's all. Month of miracles, when we go outside ourselves, when we act in a miraculous way, which means beyond nature, our environment will act with miracles on our behalf. Let's try to remember that. This is an awesome power that we have, and it's the opening is for us now. Many blessings, guys, and I bless all of us with the ability to rise above, to be strong enough, to have the enough desire, because we need that. We need the desire to rise above and overcome who? Our enemies? No, to overcome ourselves. And when we overcome ourselves, we will automatically be in control of all those around us who might want to harm us, God forbid. They will become our allies. They will become helpers. It's unbelievable how it works, but it does work. Blessings, everyone, and I'll see you very soon on the next one.